Hi, I'm Gary and welcome to my shop. In this video I'm going to show you a few woodworking tips and tricks and a couple of updates that I'm making to these craft show shelves that I've been making. And here's a couple of techniques that if you're making these shelves yourself, this is something that could help you. Always trying to improve upon things. So one of the things I did is I'm making the splines in the ends of these shelf supports. To give strength because this is such a weak point up here. And what I'm doing is making these now on the router, and I've got a good technique for doing that and also getting a better fit with that. Another tip is going to be about how I sand these shelves and get them good and even, kind of putting them together in kind of a gang fashion by getting all these shelves cut out at one stroke on the bandsaw and then leaving them together like that, and then doing all the sanding and getting all these fitted so that the shelves fit good. But also cutting the notches on the shelves themselves and then making some 45-degree angles inside these notches here that will make them fit into these shelf supports a lot better. Some craftsmanship details and techniques here to share with you. Okay, on my board here, this is where I want to put a spline in this weak part here. So I'll be cutting a spline through here. I'm going to do this at my router table here with a straight bit. It's a double fluted straight bit. That is a 1/4 inch diameter. That'll fit the 1/4 inch piece of some poplar that I got as shop grade hardwood to reinforce this part here on that. I did some test cutting and got everything set up. Made myself a little bit of a jig here for my router fence so I can set this on here and I can attach this onto this with a couple of clamps to hold it in place. I get this a little bit snug so I can still move it around, make sure I got everything in good alignment before I crank it down too much. Then I'm going to put another clamp over on this side to give myself even a better grip on here. So I've got that working there. That'll hold this perfectly straight for me as I cut the slot through there for that spline. Now I'm going to start out at 1/4 inch depth, so I'm going to go up to about a 3/4 inch. So I'm going up about a 1/4 inch at a time rather than trying to hog it all out in one stroke. I'll change my camera angles here so we can get a shot as I go through this. Okay, get set up here in my router and take it through there. Okay, got my slot cut through there. I can check and see how my spline piece is going to fit. That's going to be a good snug fit there. That'll be great. Now all I have to do is raise the bit and go through until I've got the full depth of cut. Now in making these brackets here, I put them together with double stick tape and cut them both sides at the same time. So they come out perfectly the same in the pattern. And of course I had my splines I put on here on this end. And I trimmed up all the cuts and so forth, so got it down to that shape. Now the trick is to filing, or what I decided to do is sanding, to get these wide enough for the boards to slip into with a friction fit. Because this will be like what the shelves are made out of and they'll be slipping into there. Filing, well, it takes a lot of time and it's pretty tedious and it's not real fast. I thought there's got to be a better way of doing this. So decided to make this sanding block, which is a piece of poplar, 1/2 inch thick. It's got to be 1/2 inch or something so it can fit between these slots here and move. 3/4 inch material would be too thick to be moving in here. And I cut this angle on here so that it can fit in to there very well and give me good coverage all the way. And also on this side to get this front side and still fit so it gets down to the bottom of the slot there. So I found that this is 80 grit on here, and this goes a lot quicker for me than using files. Then when my sandpaper gets a little bit full, I just kind of cleaned it off a little bit with a nylon brush. That works pretty good. And this is disposable. If I wear it out, I don't think I'm going to wear this out on these few slots here, but wear it out, then I can just make another one. This is my first one that I made, my first prototype, so to speak. So if I make another one, I'm probably going to make it a little bit longer so I get more of a stroke out of it. Alright, I've cut up a set of 4 shelves here. It's 4 of them clamped in here, and I adhered them together with some double stick tape and put clamps on them for a while to make sure it gets a good grip on here. And then I marked out my cuts on here. Then I'm going to go to the bandsaw and cut these notches out of here, 3/4 inch wide and a 1/2 inch deep. So I'm going to do all 4 boards in one cut, and then I'll probably do some relief cuts in there too to make it easy to chisel out. And then I want to leave these assembled like this together and then do my sanding and filing on the whole group of boards at once, so they're all going to be perfectly uniform in size. So next I'll go to the bandsaw, get these cut out, try to make this an efficient process. Okay, as you may see on my boards here, I've got these notches marked out here. This one I can cut okay, but the throat depth on my bandsaw here, even though it's a 14 inch, it's not going to be long enough to do this other notch here. So I trace this notch around the other side here so I can flip this around and do this notch from this way. Okay, so here I'm going to roughly clean out these notches with the chisel, and then I will finesse them up or get them smoother and sized correctly with more chiseling and sandpaper. So you can see how that relief cuts greatly helps to clear that out of there. Okay, so I've got these notches cleared out majorly. There's just some dressing up here with the file on both sides there with a piece of board that fits in there well. That's a bit tight yet, so I'll just keep working on that. Then I'll use another file, get the bottom cleaned up and even, and get it all dressed up. Alright, time for me to separate these boards from each other. They're stuck together with the double stick tape. Just take my putty knife and kind of pry them apart. We'll probably take 2 putty knives to do this. Get some leverage. Double stick tape really sticks well. Just keep working them out. Don't like to use any pry bars because I really don't want to mar up the surface too much. There we go. Coming apart. There we go. 2 sets from each other. Now it's to do the same thing to get each of these others apart. So I've got 4 pieces in total. Alright, so I've got all these boards separated here, apart from their double stick tape. Now I'll sort through these and determine which side is my best side to have up, based on how it looks and so forth. So I've got this kind of a knot here, a little bit of a chip out. So this is going to be the front side of the board because I got the notches on the back. So I'm going to put this at the upside here, and this chip out will be at the bottom side of the shelf. So I'll try and maintain the best. I'll go through and pick these out, mark them, what's going to be the bottoms, and that'll also determine how I'm going to do these 45-degree angles on these notches here for further assembly into these leg supports. that'll be my next step, is I'll identify these, then I'll show you how I do these 45-degree angles so we can make a good fit. So on this board here, one of the shelf boards, I've identified and marked B for bottom. Next, what I need to do is to cut some 45-degree angle slots on these from the edge of the slot in, so I get a 45-degree angle there on this notch. That'll facilitate sliding into these parts here on the shelf supports. That'll make it a lot more sturdy and stable. So what I do is to mark in from this edge here, get my measure here, 3/4 of an inch. And what that will do will give me a 45-degree cut on that. And what I'll do is I'll make several relief cuts, as I did for notching these out. So that makes it a lot easier and cleaner for clearing these out. Now I've mounted this board into my bench vise here, and what I'm going to do is work on cutting an angle from this edge down to this edge where this pencil mark is, so I can get that 45-degree angle from that point to this point for fitting into the shelf supports. There's a couple ways you can make this cut. You can use a handsaw, and what I might recommend is using like a Japanese pull saw, because you can get a lot better precision and control with doing that. And it's just a matter of guiding it in there and trying to make a straight cut. So you get from that end down to this end on both sides, and then making the relief cuts in between. Then we'll start chiseling that out later here. Another option that I use is where I use my Dremel multi-tool. Now my Dremel multi-tool has this blade on it, and I can use it to do the same cuts with that, and it works pretty good and efficiently for me, and probably a lot faster. It might be a little bit more difficult to control, but a little bit of practice you can do this pretty good. So I've made my angled cuts there, and I've made my relief cuts in there too, so I can chisel this out at a 45-degree angle here. You can see how quick and easy getting those out of there is, and then what I'll do is come back with the file or sandpaper and dress this up so it's much more smooth. So I've got the 45-degree angle cut into this, and it's going to slide into here, line up with that. This one needs a little bit of fitting yet, because this board's a little bit thick yet, it needs to be sanded some. But essentially the effect is going to be where the board will slide in, match up with that angle there, actually go in another 1/2 inch, because that 1/2 inch notch is a little bit deeper there yet, so that'll give it a lot of good strength. Well, thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it and you got the inspiration to make something. If you did, please give me a like and share it with your family, friends, and fellow craftspersons. Also, please subscribe and be sure to hit that bell icon so you won't miss anything. I also greatly appreciate your comments and everything that you have to say, and also I like to hear what you like to see in the future. So if the ladies don't find you handsome, at least they should find you handy. Thank you.